this week, the DM10 and the TR2 got hard nerfed pretty much into the ground. Pretty much the only people that'll be using those are people that just enjoy semi-automatic weapons, because there are tons of different options that are better than these. Unfortunately, it has kind of limited some of the options because they didn't buff anything, and this has been a kind of a running theme. And if you were in the stream last week, you already know that this already got updated. We already talked about a lot of these things. I just didn't want to rush the video in case there was some kind of like hidden build out there that was going to kind of sneak in. Overall, we did get the TR2 conversion kit, which jumps in here as a full auto conversion kit. It actually kills pretty quickly. I do have the LC10 over here at 600 milliseconds. I know if you get specific shot placement, you can get 525, and that's what's kind of led it to be so dominant, because some of these, this is as fast as it goes. It will not go to 525. We also have things like the FFAR, which is very good. The GPR got a huge buff, so up close it's pretty good. It does have quite a bit of a slow reload, and the kilo is still kind of in the mix just because it's so low recoil. Model L, not as low recoil as the kilo. It feels actually weaker, especially once you get to the even further ranges beyond that 40-ish meter range where most of the engagements are going to happen. Whenever that drop off is for the weapon, you kind of see where they fall out. So overall, I think it's kind of unfortunate that they keep pushing back on widening the meta, and it's kind of slowly, progressively gotten smaller. But we'll go ahead and go over like 6 different loadouts, a few different sleeper builds in there. And speaking of sleepers, this video does have a sponsored section, which we'll do now. Today's video is brought to you by Titan. Titan mattresses are designed, assembled, and shipped from their Arizona factory. They ended up sending me a mattress a few weeks ago so I can go ahead and try it out for myself. I got the Titan Plus Elite queen size mattress, and I've been enjoying it. It's been super comfortable. There's a lot of benefits to having a nice mattress if you've never had one. For the longest, I grew up without really any kind of nice mattress. It was always kind of like a hand-me-down mattress, so it was never really comfortable, and I never noticed the difference until I got a nice mattress, and that's exactly what this is. And just some of the basic benefits is you're going to go ahead and sleep better, more well rested, especially if you're in an exercise routine and you're trying to lose weight or whatever, you're just trying to stay healthy. Your body needs a certain amount of rest, and resting on a good mattress that gets you to sleep quicker and then full rested so you can get that full 7-8 hours of sleep. Strong support, so it's super durable and designed to last for about 10 years. And for anyone on the fence because they've never really experienced a nice mattress, Titan provides a 120 night sleep trial. So you can go ahead and try it out for yourself. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and return it. Mattresses are firm, but also very comfortable and have tons of cooling features to help regulate your body temperature, which can kind of get hot during the summer and stuff like that. And since, like I mentioned in the beginning, they are designed, assembled, and shipped out of Arizona, the cost is able to be kept down because there's no middleman. You're buying directly from that particular location that's shipping out of Arizona. And when you do order, it's going to deliver directly to your door, super easy to set up. You basically just roll it out and it's ready to be used. So when it comes to a mattress, I think Titan mattress actually checks a lot of those boxes that people are looking for when trying to find the right mattress that not only work for them, but also last. And like I said, I've been enjoying the mattress. I think you will too. So if you want to try it out for yourself, go ahead and check out the link near the top of the description, which is just titanmattress.com/JGOD, or you can use my code at checkout to save 30% off your order. Thank you to Titan Mattress for sponsoring today's video. So in terms of loadouts, obviously not on the top end. We'll go ahead and get through a little bit of everything. The main thing to focus on here is there are a few different options, especially on small map. If you're playing Rebirth, you got tons of different options. I think the FFAR is still pretty good, not quite as good as the top 3 in the list that we'll go ahead and talk about, and then the KSV just outside of the LC10 and some of the other SMGs close range that we'll talk about. Both of these are very good. You have a lot of fun with, be pretty competitive, not feel like you're at a huge disadvantage. And then for the FFAR, we have basically a similar build that we have for a lot of our long range options. You do the gain twist for the vast majority if you're doing it long maps. If you're doing resurgence, you could probably get away with reinforced because the ranges just aren't that far, and you could push out that TTK up here, as you can see, up to 54 meters instead of the 41 meters. So you get an extra 13 meter range, which is huge depending on how you want to do it. KSV, this is how a lot of our close range meta options are going to be. And then you kind of see it here. The great thing about the firing range is they did update so you can see the TTK. As long as you're accurate, it's relatively consistent. You can see you get very fast TTKs up close with the FFAR, and that's why it was so good as a sniper support. I have it on the paper as 640, but obviously sometimes you get a couple extra headshot, a little bit of a chest shot in the mix. You can get a little bit faster TTK, but you can see consistently 640. Depending on your individual skill level, you might be able to get faster or slower TTKs depending on where your shot placement is. Keeping in mind, this is a sitting still target. It is not moving. It might be inside or outside of a damage profile. That was terrible. But it kind of gives you an idea of what those two weapons are. So pretty solid overall. And then we're going to have the next one on the list, which I think is one of the straightest shooting guns in the entire game, and that is the Kilo. Like I already mentioned, although its TTK is not quite as fast or even faster than some options, the fact that it basically has zero recoil, at least when you stack it the right way, it's relatively easy to use combined with the Saug. Pretty straightforward build here. You can kind of mess around. I was messing around with the 4X optic. You could go 2X. Since they did modify those, I didn't notice a huge difference, but I like the extra visual zoom in that we have on that. And then we have the close range on the Saug. Again, if you ever want to just see the TTKs, you just go ahead and shoot at those ranges and you can see how accurate you can be or how inaccurate you can be. Decide, you know what? Gun shoots straight enough on 5 attachments. Do I need 8 attachments to get this number even lower, right? About 1200 in practical sense. Compare that to some of the more shaky recoil guns and you'll kind of see where that sits. But overall, pretty good options for the game. To be able to just go through 600 TTK, very reliable gun there as well. Moves us into one of the biggest sleeper picks, I think, is the AMAX. Kind of gone under the radar. It did get nerfed. They did modify the recoil a little bit, not quite as much as the Krig got recently, but overall definitely one of my favorite guns, especially on Rebirth Island, because of that range distance that I talked about. I just like the gun overall. I feel like it's relatively easy to shoot straight. The TTK is very, good. Like that was 864. You can actually delete a fool at this range. You land those shots properly. Obviously, if you get off though, because of the slower fire rate, you might get punished. There's the Ladra. This thing is ridiculous. But because of the fast fire rate, some people might not necessarily like it, especially for these targets, where the damage falls off quite a bit. It's a little bit more of that delete people up close kind of thing. And you kind of go from there. Oh, damn, that was a fast TTK. I must have got a ton of headshots. Either way, that's the kind of like one of my favorites there. And then we also have the Grau, which is kind of an all-around good gun. You really don't need 8 attachments the way it's built out and the way the attachment spots fit. So I would really kind of avoid that unless you just really want to. Because what are you going to put on? An optic? Cool. A stock? Or a laser? Like, you already got all the recoil stuff in here. So it's pretty straightforward. One thing that you could do is instead of the compensator, I like the ported compensator as well, because that first shot tends to kick a little bit, and that just allows you to wrangle in the aim a little bit quicker before it has that jerk take over in the beginning that it can. And then our close range is just built out like that for the C9, which is still pretty good. It's just kind of like people forget what they like and what they don't like. They get bored of specific guns. And overall, still very fast TTK. You can see that one, it said 576. 576. We go in again, but we get a little bit of, there it is, 576. So it's pretty good TTK after that buff. But the LC10 gets that 525 that we kind of talked about. Obviously, in the firing range, it's going to be slightly different. And then we got the GPR, which I think is kind of like the pound for pound best sniper support. At range, it can be a little bit harder to use because of the slower rate of fire. If you down someone, it gives them a chance to revive and those types of things. But overall, pretty much standard build that we would have. And then the TR2 conversion kit. Obviously, we got to put in an ammo mod so we lose the barrel. But the range on this thing is comparable to a lot of the other close range options at almost 13 meters. So we go into the firing range on this one. GPR deletes 592, even at this range, 576, even faster. And then we go over here, 608. Not so great at the 25 meters, but it's not supposed to be. 512, that deleted. 576. So this thing, pretty fast. Just depends on the shot placement, how fast you can get the TTK, and if you unlocked it in the COD Tunes event. So pretty good option there. And then the number one, which seems to be a lot of people are still using, is the Cypher, that low recoil option. Like I said, whether or not you're going to go big map or you're going to go a rebirth, you can kind of swap between those. 8 attachment, you just go for bullet velocity or recoil, depending on your preference. And then the LC10, pretty much a standard built out class. It does have a significantly more range. You can kind of see this one. Overall, a pretty good gun. Kills pretty quick. That's 1,000. So 1 second TTK. There's the 528 that we saw. 528. 608. That's the one I have it set up. 592. 528. And now it's a stationary target. When people jump, it's going to be a little bit different. And in a way you're going to be able to take the target on. So let me know what you guys are enjoying. I really wish they would expand the meta instead of shrink the meta. But unfortunately, they got a different idea of how many guns should be meta in the game. We'll see kind of where it goes. See you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.